like to introduce Gary from the United States, who takes LDN for multiple sclerosis. Thank you for joining me, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us when you first started to notice that there was something wrong with you?
It was around October of 2011. I just had been having a lot more fatigue than normal. And then in November of 2011, I was at work, and there was just the tips of the fingers on my left hand started getting really numb and tingly, and I didn't know what it was. Then the next day, it was like my entire hand, and within 2 days, it was like my entire left arm, almost like a really bad sunburn tingly, but it didn't sting. It was just really tingly.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a hospital, and they said they just took my blood pressure and then sent me out the door. And the next day, like it was my entire arm. It was worse, and I couldn't even work with it. And then I went to another hospital. They drew blood, said, well, you did not have a heart attack, and you did not have a stroke. So see you later. And they sent me out the door. And then by the middle of the next week, it was my entire left arm and my back shoulder and the left side of my torso, like my chest, stomach, and back, all the way to this complete left-hand side. And I went to another hospital, and they gave me all the MS tests or smile and do all this, but they did not, and they gave me a CAT scan, but they did not do an MRI. And so they sent me out, and then after a month, that slowly went away. And then I want to say about a week later, it felt like a really, really, really bad hangover. I could not stop from throwing up, and I could not even barely get out of bed, and I had no strength. And that lasted for about a month, and I went to like a couple more hospitals, once by ER and by ambulance, and they did not do the tests either at any of them. They just said, we don't know, and sent me out. And then that slowly went away, so I went back to work. I was finally able to go back to work. March of last year, I remember I left home early from work one day because I started having hot flashes and just feeling dizzy. And then the next day I felt bad, so I called off work. And the next day I got in my car to try to go to work, and then I had double vision really bad. I couldn't. This was March of 2013. Mm-hmm. I couldn't see the road that well, and I knew that it was not safe for me to try and drive that way. So I just turned around, went back home, and then when my girlfriend got home, she took me to the hospital. And they actually did the MRIs and blood thing and said that I had multiple sclerosis. They counted 25 to 30 plus active lesions in the brain and spinal cord. And then they didn't give me nothing. They kept me there for a week on the steroids to get the attack under control, and they sent me home. And then in August, I had another attack of last year, 2013. To where it felt like a really bad hangover where I was throwing up and stuff like that. And my girlfriend was out of town for work, but she came home to take me to the hospital. And it was another attack, and they said they counted multiple lesions again on the brain and spinal cord. They recommended Tysabri, but just from reading about it and stuff like that, just something in my gut told me that that was not right for me. This is not worth the risk. And the doctor even said, he goes, well, it's a low risk. I said, being a male, getting MS is a low risk. Having it as severe as I do is an even lower risk. I said, I'm not really in the mood to talk low risk, so I'm good. Mm-hmm. So that's when they recommended Gilenya, and they put me on the Gilenya, and exactly 1 week after starting the Gilenya, I had 2 seizures in one night, like the full-blown tonic-clonic seizures. And then 4 days later, I had another minor seizure. So I gave the Gilenya back to them. I said, I don't want to know more. And I started doing my own research. And I Googled safest MS treatment. And then I just seen one of them mentioned LDN. So then I just started researching LDN and then got it. And I went to my neurologist, the head of the neurology. What is that called? The Shafitz Rose? Oh, she has her headphones on because she left them on her computer. He's research. He's head of the research development thing. And he said, he gave me a hard time. He's like, I don't see why you want LDN. We have so many other patients here, and only maybe 5 or 6 of them are taking LDN. He said, I'm embarrassed to ask them to try and get the LDN. And I said, well, what will it hurt? I said, that's what I want. So he asked my neurologist. Neurologist gave him the prescription. He gave it to me. And I called around the different pharmacies, the compounding pharmacies, to see what they use as a filler, because I made sure they did not use a calcium carbonate. And that was one of the things I read about it. You don't want. And they gave me, it was a 4.5 milligrams. So for the first couple weeks, I broke it into a thing of water and put it into 3 separate things. So instead of 4.5 milligrams, I knew it was like 1.2 milligrams each. So that way to ease into it, because I read that was what you're supposed to do. And the first dose overnight, I noticed the difference immediately. I just felt so much better. And then I moved up to now I'm taking the 3 milligrams, and I take 4 capsules, put it in there, so I know 4.5 times 4 is 18, and I put that in a 6 separate bottle pressure measuring cup. They had exactly a quarter of a glass of water each, so I know it's 3 milligrams each. I have been doing that since November of 2013, and when I see my neurologist at the end of February, beginning of March of 2014, they mentioned they wanted me to try and get on an FDA-approved treatment. They said their goal is to get me on an FDA treatment as soon as possible. And I told them I will not take an FDA-approved treatment until the next MRI I have shows what I'm doing is not working. I said, if it shows what I'm doing is working, then why change it? So I wasn't supposed to have an MRI until actually this month. But as soon as I told them the next MRI, depending on what it shows, they scheduled me one for the next week. And I have not heard back from them until yesterday. I had to go in for my appointment, and they said that out of those 25 to 30 lesions they seen in August, and in October they did do another MRI, and it showed another lesion forming. So from then until the MRI, I started it. Okay, let me slow down before I start jumping around. 25 to 30 lesions in August, and then a new lesion forming in October. I started LDN in November, had an MRI in March, which showed no new lesions and no active lesions.
Wow. Amazing.
So from November to March, that's what it showed. The thing was definitely progressing very aggressively.
Mm-hmm. So before you started LDN, if you had to have rated your quality of life on a score of 1 to 10, and 10 being the best, what would it have been?
I definitely have to say a 2 or a 3. I mean, it was very low. I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. And how would you rate it today?
I'd put it at least an 8.
Well, that is amazing, isn't it? Really is. And may I ask how old you were when you were diagnosed?
37.
Okay.
Wait, diagnosed? Yeah, 37.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're doing remarkably well.
Yeah, I mean, because now my girlfriend, she works out of town. Sometimes she'll be gone for weeks or months at a time. And before, especially after the seizures, I went to one of our friend's house and to stay for the week while she was gone, so that way she felt better. And now she can be gone, and she has confidence knowing that I am completely capable of handling everything myself, because the LDN helps that much.
And what would you say to other people, Gary, who are thinking of taking LDN but might be a bit sceptical?
It can't hurt to try. I mean, the side effects are increased libido, which you really can't argue with, and only in the very beginning you have a hard time getting to sleep. But once you get it through your system and you've been on it for a while, it's no different. That's the only side effects, is increased libido and vivid dreams. And not nightmares, just vivid dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So I mean, it can't hurt anything to try it. If it doesn't work for you, then stick to what you're doing. But if it does work for you, then you know you found something that works a lot better without all the nasty side effects.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Anytime.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.